I'm Aaron Meyer, and you're listening to the 19-9 Podcast. Today we're talking to Eric Gordon Sr. about being a basketball dad, dropping 81 in a men's league game.
I scored 81 points against guys that were in college, playing Major D1 college.
Nice. Oh yeah, we also discuss his son's pathways to college and pro basketball.
And so after that, he dropped from top 5 to like 25, but then put together a plan for him after the season ended with weights, with training, with diet. And that plan actually made him the number one athlete athletically out of the NBA Combine that year. So
now on to the show.
Again, isn't it amazing when Michigan can keep this game to a 19-foot, 9-inch game inside that three-point line? It's all there.
Welcome to the 19-9 Podcast. We've got a special guest today. We've got Eric Gordon, who is a basketball father, basketball player himself, and we're going to get into how he navigated the waters being a successful basketball player, successful basketball father, the gentleman basketball dad of all the basketball dads out there that you get a lot of publicity. I like to give a little bit more shout out to the ones who I feel like are carrying themselves a certain way. So let's start out. Welcome to the podcast, and then give us your basketball origin story. But what got you into the game initially?
Well, thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate talking basketball. That's something that I love. And if it wasn't for basketball, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. So with that being said, I started playing basketball at an early age. Actually, football was my better sport. I was a much better football player, just for the simple fact that I was physical. I liked to hit, that was just something that I enjoyed doing. And so basketball actually started for me when I was probably, I think in the 6th or 7th grade. I remember on the playground, I was playing with a couple of friends of mine. They played in leagues at Municipal Gardens. And two of those guys wanted to play just me individually. So I said, I said, okay, I'll play. I didn't know any better. I didn't know anything about basketball. But I beat both of them 2-on-1. So I said, well, maybe I have a little gift here with basketball. So that's what got me started. My dad took me over to Municipal Gardens, got me signed up, and the rest is history.
That's fun. That's funny because you get that just moment to spark your interest, and later in life too. I didn't start playing basketball till later too. So many kids get into it so young now. Probably your sons get maybe out of the crib, or maybe not. Maybe didn't start until 7th grade. I don't know.
No, they all started at 5 years old.
There you go. Yeah. So
Eric was 4.5, 5 years old. They all started. Really interesting situation, but they all loved it. They saw me play. Eric saw me play as he was a small infant, just being born. My wife at the time, she brought Eric to the gym when I was playing. That's awesome. And so it's just really fun and interesting. And she enjoyed it. She enjoys it now. Years ago, she would be like, "Why do you guys stay in the gym so much?" and I guess now she knows.
Now she knows. So you took it, but you went beyond and went to college and played basketball, and then even kept playing after that. So why the passion for playing basketball, and at what point did you decide to kind of transition then from playing or even like crossover between playing and coaching too? Where that interest in coaching and developing players come in?
Yeah. So when I finished college, I had a chance to go play overseas, and something just said, "No, that just isn't it, Eric. Go ahead and start your family, start working." And I didn't even touch a basketball for a year after graduating from college.
Amazing.
Didn't touch it, didn't want to touch it, didn't think I wanted to play at all anymore. So after getting married, I came back home to Indianapolis and moved into a house a few years later, right across from the Jewish Community Center. And I walked in the gym one day, saw some guys shooting around, and I said, well, I could beat those guys. And there were men's leagues. Some of them were playing high school. Some of them were playing, it was, I think that summer. And then a few guys played overseas. And so I said, I can play with those guys. So I got back involved. I started playing. A friend of mine asked me to play in a couple of leagues, men's leagues. I got my feet back underneath, got my coordination, and started playing really well at a high level and was beating guys that were in college. And I was probably 30.
Yeah.
When I was 40, when I was, I think, 49 or 50, I think it was 49, I scored 81 points against guys that were in college, playing major D1 college.
Nice.
Around this area, Indianapolis and Indiana area.
Yeah.
So I did 81 before Kobe did it. So,
yeah, I thought you were going to say you went into the gym and they wanted to play you 2-on-1 just to call it back.
It would have been just fine if they wanted to play 2-on-1. But I had a lot of success. I enjoyed it. But how I transitioned over was I did so well in my basketball career, and I said, you know what, I could have been a much better ball player if I did A, B, C, D. And so what I did was I transitioned that and helped my kids do that. And after it worked with my kids, I said, you know what? I did 30 years in pharmaceuticals. I said, I want to help other kids do the same thing that I figured out that helped my kids. And so that's what I did. I've been doing that professionally for the past 12 years. And we started our AAU program. We've had 187 kids get scholarships, 91 Division I scholarships through the AAU program. And so it's just been a blessing. It's a lot of fun for me. And so our main thing is we want kids to get scholarships. We want them to be good citizens. And we want parents to also embrace supporting your kid. Not necessarily, this day and age is a different set of parents.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different set. I mean, everybody thinks their kid is going to the NBA. When I grew up, my goal was just to get my college paid for. So my parents didn't have to pay for it because I figured all the stuff they did for me, if I could help them out where they didn't have to pay for my college, that was my goal. So so that's sort of where all this came from, giving back and helping the kids in our community and abroad.
What's your approach to training? Because you mentioned that, and I think that is so true. Like it seems like the kids' goals, because I mean, I remember every kid wants to be in the NBA when they're in middle school or whatever, but I never had thought I'm going to the NBA. I wanted to make like the A team and then make varsity. Those were the real goals. Of course, you want to play in the NBA, but that's just sort of a dream. So how do you balance when you're training kids now, the realities of the work that it takes to get to that level and the successes that you can have, not missing out on enjoying the successes you can have along the way?
Yeah. What I do is I can quickly tell a kid's potential, generic potential, just in about 2 or 3 minutes. Then what I do is I look and see what type of athletic ability they have. And then I look and see their parents' sort of motivation. And then I can sort of, in my mind, set a goal for that athlete where I think their ceiling is, their max ceiling. And I kind of work towards that. Some kids have crazy athletic ability, but for whatever reason, you have to tell them to do stuff 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
That kid is not going to get to the NBA. Yeah. The one thing that I learned really quick was those talented kids that you can depend on, you only have to tell them once, maybe twice, and they're going to get it. And on an NBA team, people have to understand everybody's not going to play a lot. I mean, I'll sit the bench for $1 million. I'll sit the bench right now. So people have to sort of adjust their mentality of thinking because everybody's not going to be a superstar on a team. Every college team, everybody's not a superstar. So find your niche, find your role, be as good as you can be for whatever coach you're playing for, and then gradually learn and understand the game because it is a game of basketball. You have 5 people out there, actually 10 people, and you got to play within the confines of referees. So there's a lot of things going on out there. So my approach is skill development, helping kids mentally understand that they got to work hard. You got to work hard. You got to work harder than you thought you were. I'd rather you bust your butt here in the workout because the game is going to be a lot easier. Some people get that turned around.
Yeah.
I'll go through the motions in the workout and the game's going to be easier. And that's not the case. So that's sort of my how I organize the workouts, how I work with the athletes. Encouragement is really important. I don't believe in belittling and tearing down kids. I think you have to encourage them. I think get so much more out of them by pushing them and encouraging them. And they have gotten to know me so that if I do need to say or help them understand a little bit more harsher, they'll know it's out of love that I really want the most for them.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part of coaching is that you can see the frustrated coach and assume that that's how they always are. But if you are like that, you're never going to get through to this. That's got to be reserved for only the worst moments, not all the moments.
Certain times, pick your battles.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
it. Pick your battles.
Okay, so thinking about that training philosophy, how do you balance that with the AAU teams? Because I think AAU, has sometimes gotten maybe too harsh, a portrait painted of it, whereas it's all just roll the ball out, no discipline. And I think the truth's somewhere in between. But how do you guys approach that with your AAU teams, like wanting to develop players, but also knowing that it is a showcase for these guys? You've got guys going to D1 and so that is a end goal for a lot of them. So they want an opportunity to score or, highlight their best attributes so they can get that scholarship.
Yeah. The first thing we try and do, first of all, is we got to have good citizens. We just don't have kids that are bad citizens, either on the top teams or the lower level teams, the second, third tier teams. That's the first and foremost thing. I get a lot of evaluation, per se, since I run our basketball program from Evan, from Eric, and from Aaron. And the baby boy, Eron, he's the most critical, but he's the fairest. Evan, he's pretty critical, but then he has a lot of great ideas. And Eric kind of looks at things and he gives his opinion. But the biggest thing that we try and do is make sure that we have coaches that are well trained and organized. We can't have disorganization. If there is disorganization, we got to make changes. So we try and make sure things are organized for the kids. They have organized practices that are mandatory. I like all of my coaches to be formal coaches, meaning high school coaches of some degree, a head or an assistant. We haven't always had that, but we have had coaches that have coached either girls or boys at some point in time. I think that's very important because they then take some of the knowledge that they picked up from that school that they worked at and helping others. So that's really important. I think the other thing that's important is that kids all understand that they have to be able to shoot. They have to be able to just dribble the ball well. They have to be able to share the ball and defend. Rebounding is a must because whoever touches the ball the most at the end of the day, they'll be the most successful. So that's sort of our philosophy. I try and make sure our kids play in high exposure tournaments. And so that's my job and responsibility is to give everybody the groundwork and the footprint to work from. And then I turn it over to the coaches, and then the coaches then have to execute everything that we're doing. And this year will probably be one of our best years ever. All of our teams are really loaded and looking good. Our top team ever was several years ago. We were number one in the nation 2 years in a row with the team that was really loaded with talent. So we're teeter-tottering right around there this year with all three teams. Should be absolutely fantastic.
And do you guys have people coming to you now at this point? Because I mean, it's an established AAU team. Like when I see it, I recognize the name just from tournaments or whatnot in the summertime. It takes a while to get to that. You guys have been building for a while to get to that point.
Yeah, we had to make a lot of changes along the way, a lot of growing pains and learning. But for the most part, we handpick all our top level teams. I mean, they're all kids that are handpicked. We don't necessarily, we'll have workouts so that we can select and see how the kids mold and work with others and see the parents. But all of our kids are handpicked, and they're handpicked by going to the games, watching them, communicating with them, getting to know them, and then we tie the knot and get it all going. So this year will be a great year. 15U's loaded with talent. 16U is outstanding. And 17U is going to, as Deion Sanders says, we're coming.
Oh man, you know you're serious if you got a Deion quote out there.
We're coming.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, where do you see the state of youth basketball going in the future? So I think there's been kind of this. It was like AAU for a long. It was the playground first. I'm assuming you started playing on the playgrounds when you were young. I know I did.
Started playing playground. I think when I played, there was only one team that was able to go to an AAU national. Mm-hmm. Now everybody's got different AAU nationals across the country, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So then it's developed into kind of the AAU scene and kind of blew up, but now it's this kind of training and AAU. So do you think that'll stick around for a while, or do you see it kind of melding together? What do you think is next for youth basketball?
Well, I think the most important thing is skill development. I think Europeans and kids overseas get tons of skill development early before they start playing tons of games. I think we're seeing kids at 7 foot being able to dribble, shoot from the three, and the game is changing. So I think for everybody, it's really important. You don't know how tall you're going to be, so everybody needs to be able to handle the ball. You want to be as athletic as you can. I mean, now kids are doing sports performance and getting stronger at a younger age. So I think the biggest thing for kids, if they really want to be good, they need to focus now, not on multiple sports like when I was growing up playing 3 sports. I think you have to find one sport, focus on that. And I think that with the NCAA, the NBA, and USA Basketball, I think their goal is to formalize a process. AAU's kind of lost some of this steam, the actual AAU.
Interesting.
But I think USA Basketball is trying to gather and group everybody together, and they're tight with the NBA. So I think eventually, as we've seen recently, a lot of USA national tournaments for younger kids taking place. So I think they're going to try and work together more, NBA and USA Basketball, to sort of gobble up some of the top players or top programs so that they can kind of monitor and bring them aboard.
That's interesting. They should get you on board to lead that program. Start gobbling them up. I like that.
Well, as of right now, I just enjoy going to see Eric play, see Eron play, work with Evan. Evan's over in China right now.
Okay.
So coaching college basketball there. So I'm just enjoying my boys. I got 2 grandkids, so I'm going to be enjoying them.
No, it's a lot. It's a lot, right? Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about them. Who do you want to start with talking about? Because they all have had successful careers in basketball, and I think that's such a unique thing. You could also probably start a side career as a trainer for basketball parents, trying to get them to like maintain expectations while also being the person that helps get them to where they want to go.
Yeah, that's really interesting. A lot of people ask me, did you know that Eric at a young age? And I would tell people, all 3 of my kids, I really wasn't stuck or caught up on how well they were doing. All I was focused was on skill development, working hard, keeping the right mindset, meaning being humble, being sincere about what you're doing. And I never even thought about that kind of stuff. But some of my friends, you had to know Eric was going to. No, I didn't. We stayed in the gym every day. When you're busy working and in it, you don't worry or think as much about all the external things. And so that sort of was my perspective. But I'll start with Evan, since I made mention of Evan right now. So Evan is a head college coach over right now in China, Shantou University. They're probably top 25 in the country. And he's had an interesting career. So Evan actually also is an outstanding, incredible table tennis, ping pong player.
Really? Amazing.
So they did the Olympic trials for ping pong.
Yes,
and he did some training over in China, and that's sort of how he got caught up there coaching and playing. He played in the CBA over there, the Chinese Basketball Association, professional league, and from there he started a business. So Evan is sort of the entrepreneur, sort of following some of my footsteps in that aspect, because he's played 2 different sports at a high level, basketball and table tennis. He was a state champion here in Indiana, table tennis.
I didn't even know there was a state championship. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he matter of fact, I got video just yesterday. He's playing with Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, and those
Yes.
guys thought they were really good,
Yeah.
and Evan just stomped on.
Wiping the floor with them, huh?
So, but yeah, the dream is still, he's probably a little bit better than Clyde, but Clyde thought the dream was going to beat Evan,
Yeah.
but Evan, won that as well.
You'd think with the Dream's long arms that would give him an unfair advantage, but that's awesome. Got the spin.
Yeah.
He got the spin on there.
So yeah, Evans had an interesting career, from North Central to Hargrave, from Hargrave to Liberty, my old school. He did well freshman of the conference. And after the second year, he says, Dad, I want to go someplace a little bit bigger. And, as a dad, you just want to make sure your kid is happy. So I said, well, as long as you have been handling your business here, I'll do what I can. So we got him at Arizona State, played well there. He redshirted 1 year, started and played the next. He was actually on the ESPN top 5, finishing
nice.
I think it was against Oregon.
Okay.
They beat him a buzzer beater. So he did well out there. And then he, said, hey, Dad, I want to come home. So I got him back home to IU, and so the rest is history.
Yeah. What was that process like? Because now it's the norm. That's that like you're the way you're framing it, and it was at that time more unusual to transfer several schools. Now it seems like that's becoming kind of part of the game. Whether it's before you graduate or with that graduate year ending up somewhere else.
Honestly, I think, you're right. It was unusual for that to happen back then. That wasn't a career path for college basketball that most college basketball players would say, that's what I want to do. But I think for Evan, he just wanted certain things to happen in his life. And as a dad, I said, okay, that's good. I'll help you. And I think right now, what's ended up happening, I see a college coach that, let's say he's done well. All of a sudden he wants to go to a bigger school that suits him and his career. And then he may stay there a few years, and then all of a sudden an opening pops up. So I think we should look and give the college student the same opportunity, I think, as the adult that happens to move from one school to the other. So I think it's kind of a good thing. I think it changes the landscape of college basketball. I think one thing it does do, it now makes the college coach have to be maybe a stronger recruiter. He has to have good relationships, even better relationships with his players. So it gives the college coach a little bit more work that he has to do, and he may have to be a little bit better interpersonal with that student athlete. So it changes the game a little bit.
Yeah, with that thought in mind, what do you think of all the NIL stuff that's going on? Because certainly that would have played into for multiple of your sons and probably for guys in the AAU program thinking about where they're going to go, because that's a factor in choosing a school in a weird way now.
Yeah, that's really changed the game a lot. But the one thing that I was talking with a college coach not too long ago, and we're just talking basketball and players. And he said, I got a kid that I went to visit his home, and it's a tough, situation. Yeah. But if he didn't have NIL, and let's say he grew up in a tough situation, if he didn't have that extra money that he could, go wash his clothes, go out to eat with friends, he may end up doing something that he shouldn't do, getting himself in trouble. So I think there's some tough situations where it really works well. There's some other situations where, it's a benefit for recruiting to get kids to certain schools. But I think it's always been a benefit to get kids to certain schools. I think things have just opened up and being a little bit more open and obvious, because I think some schools probably that are huge have boosters and have alumni that do things for players that make things easier, the bigger schools. So now I just think it gives things a little bit more level playing ground. I think it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I know.
It's tough. But I do think some kids benefit from it.
Are you glad that your kids went through before it came out, or would you have wanted that opportunity?
No, I'm glad it did. I basically feel like that was a situation that they didn't need. I mean, I had college coaches and I had alumni from different universities calling, wanting Eric to come. We'll do this, we'll do that. And I said, I don't want you to do anything. I just want him to go to school, do what he's capable of doing, and the rest will work itself out. And that goes for, all three of the guys. I mean, all three of my sons. So it worked out that way because I did. Again, I had people, we'll do this for you, we'll do that for you. And I just didn't want it because I don't want to necessarily, quote unquote, oh, no, I did this for you, Eric. I want you to do this. So I didn't do that. Yeah. No, not at all. So I'm fine with what happened with my three sons, and specifically Eric.
Makes sense. Well, let's talk a little bit about him. We'll finish with Eron, because I just wanted to hear kind of, how the one and done rule was pretty new when he came in. So I was just kind of curious, like you said, the hype didn't play in, but was there a time in high school where you could feel it? Because I know, just for me doing a little research, there was this YouTube clip where he's playing against Michael Jordan's kids, and Jordan's in the audience, and he just is lighting it up. So I mean, from me watching it, like you said, you could watch in a couple minutes and know whether a guy has a chance. Like you watch that game, I mean, like he's got a shot to do something. Yeah.
So now, when I was talking about earlier, at an earlier age, I was talking like maybe middle school or first part of high school. Okay. But by that time, I knew he was headed in the right direction. And so, it was stressful. It was a stressful time because a lot of parents a lot of people wouldn't realize as well as he did, and when you get to that type of level, because he was arguably back and forth, number one, number two in the nation, coming out of high school. And so what ends up happening, you got a lot of weight on your back to keep performing, keep doing well. Everybody critiques everything that you do, and those things that make you happy can also make you sad. So you really have to keep and stay level-headed. And when things go well, because if you saw me at a game, I'd be just sitting there because I wouldn't. You never will see me doing that. Never, unless it was like
how?
But I never did. I never did because I tried to stay focused and stay calm, because he would react sort of the way I would. So if I'm, yelling, screaming, yelling at the referees, jumping up, and I do see parents doing that now, which I've seen a parent doing it in the NBA, and I'm like, come on.
You say that. I was watching the Eric play last night, and Jabari Smith Jr.'s dad was on the sidelines yelling at him from the sidelines, and Eric was out there. I saw him. He had a great game last night and was calm as can be, just knocking down threes. So an interesting contrast just in that game last night.
Yeah, that was an interesting game. I think they play the Pelicans tonight, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so his situation was a little different. I did realize as he became older that he did have that opportunity. He broke his hand, and I remember getting the phone call from Coach Sampson, and I knew, I said he's been doing well, and he was arguably in the top 5. Some people said he was number 1 if he came out of college that year. And so I just said, you know what? I knew in my mind, you're going to go to the NBA. So let's wrap it up. Let's make sure it's safe and he'll be fine. And if he'll be fine, then we'll continue to play. But, if you thought it would cause any damage, then we wouldn't. And so all the doctors assured me he'd be fine. They would stabilize it and he could still play. And he played. And every week they would take a little section off of that bar that held his wrist in place. And then he could have a little bit mobility every week. And so after that, he dropped from top 5 to like 25. Yeah. But then put together a plan for him after the season ended, with weight, with training, with diet, and exercise, and sprints running. And that plan actually made him the number 1 athlete athletically out of the NBA Combine that year. So it worked.
Yeah, he had the Air Gordon moniker for a little bit coming out of high school, and I thought that was just, everybody in his era, they wanted the next Michael Jordan. That was the thing. They had to have somebody, and he certainly had some of those attributes, even playing in those highlights from high school and even into his pro career.
had his number 23.
Yeah.
He wore 23 in
That's right.
high school.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
and at IU, he was 23.
Yeah, that's crazy that he played with that injury. I wonder if he would. Now that shows his love for the game too. I mean, I think he came into IU with that spirit of just a guy wanting to play basketball. You can just see that he loves to play the game.
Yeah, he loves it. It's all business on the court for him, but he does love it.
Yeah.
Even now he does love it. He's still passionate about it.
Well, I got to ask you about two things with the recruiting, and then we'll talk a little bit about Eron. So the Illinois-Indiana thing, what in the world, like what was your perspective on that? Because I know it seems a little bit ginned up, and especially now, I think it wouldn't be as big a deal, but because it was a verbal commit. But boy, it really sowed the seeds of some animosity that season. I was in grad school then, so I got to see a lot of the games, and boy, it was very interesting, those IU Illinois games that year.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I mean, it was really crazy. I mean, Eric actually, at all away games and traveling, and even home games, he had to, because they went and put all kind of comments on his MySpace and his social media. And so the school looked at it and said, we don't like this. And so what they ended up doing was having security travel with him to all games, state troopers, the whole 9 yards, because they were it was threats. Can't wait to find out what car you drive, where do you live? And I know it's just passionate fans that just took things overboard and didn't realize, we're talking about a 17-year-old kid.
No.
17-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So with that being said, got all that was behind us. But the reason why and how everything actually happened with changing from Illinois to Indiana was a couple of things. One is when we were at IU, because we went there for a visit. We just went there. My college coach was hired by Coach Sampson.
Okay.
And so, he's a good friend. He's still a good friend of mine. And so I just felt it cool, felt an obligation. Okay, you're here now. We'll just come down for a visit.
Yeah.
We'll just come. So somehow Derrick Rose, who was Eric's teammate that summer for AAU, said, well, I want to come too. So they said, okay, well, both of you guys come on down here. So when they both came, and Derrick, of course, is from Chicago, Illinois, then everything kind of just started snowballing into one thing. Oh, you've gotten out of your recruiting. You're not coming to Illinois. And so at the time, he was still committed to Illinois. I never really went and got a full view of IU. Now, Coach Davis we went there and we did sit and watch Midnight Madness once before that, but not a really good full view of the school and the academics and everything and the football games.
Yeah.
We didn't have that. So Coach Sampson planned it. My college coach was there. I still didn't change my mind. We went to Illinois for a football game. All of a sudden, Eric goes, I'm still committed to Illinois. I said, okay, cool. So then they asked, can you come to one more game? Can you come to a football game at Indiana? So I said, okay. I said, we'll go to this one last game and that's it, because I'm getting a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I bet.
We went to the Indiana game, and all of a sudden Eric goes, I want to go to Indiana. So I said, oh my goodness. I said, hold on. I said, we're going to go one more visit to Illinois. Because now I said, okay, I've created, I wanted to make sure I gave IU, who had another coaching staff, my college coach came in. I want to just be fair to my home state. And so he went to Illinois. Oh, I want to stay. I want to be here at Illinois. So I'm like, man. So then I shut it all down.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was the Illinois stuff just kept festering. You Gordon this, Gordon that, Gordon. So that then sort of turned into a lot of negative issues. And so we just decided, Indiana was probably just staying home was probably the best thing to do. And it ended up being the best thing.
That's how
Illinois is great. We just decided to stay home.
Yeah. Well, that's you made me very happy. I think he was maybe the best freshman in IU history. I'll throw it out there. There's a lot of great IU players, but he had a fantastic season that year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Did you get to go to either of the Illinois games when he was there?
Yes, I went to all the Illinois games. I went to the game where they threw ice and Cokes and bottles at us at Illinois. And
How are you staying calm during that? Okay, like it's one thing when he's playing well, but man, I mean that takes some real self-discipline because there's a few lines for me, but that would have been one of them.
Well, they brought additional state troopers to the game around the family and had the family in a certain area. And then that's what IU did in the basketball team. And then we had people from North Central High School, their own security guys said, hey, I'm going to come. I want to go and just be with the family. So they came. And then we hired a security guy. He was out of New York. He was into sports as well. And he represents a lot of entertainers. So he came as well. Wow. So we didn't feel physically threatened at all, but it was just kind of not a good scene.
Yeah.
You know, they're throwing bottles, throwing Cokes, throwing ice. And the biggest redemption of the whole thing was when I think time was running out, maybe 2 seconds, 3 seconds left. I think we're down 1 or 2 points. And I'm like, man, got to come here and lose.
Yeah.
And so they called a timeout. Coach Sampson called a timeout. Eric got the ball at half court. They threw a pass. He took one dribble, launched it up, went off the backboard and went in.
I remember.
Time expired. I think we went into overtime and beat him by 1 point.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible.
So that was
incredible. Yeah. Incredible. It was such a fun time. And, you know, like I do hate that it got so, you know, personal and to so specific to, I love rivalries, but I hate it when it becomes like too personal like that. Because ultimately, like you said, it's a kid making a decision, and they, you know, all of us have been 17, and there's no way I, you know, should be trusted with making a decision and sticking to it the same day, let alone, you know, over the course of a year.
It's changed left and right, and you don't see the heavy ramifications that you see now.
I think people have got it right. They kind of figured out like, okay, maybe not so much hatred.
Yeah, it's that kid's life. Okay, if you want to go there when we play against you, I hope we beat you.
Right.
That should
And
happen.
that's what makes it more fun is just like keeping the focus on the game. Beat them on the court.
Yeah. I don't think it's putting any money in the fans' hands, or I don't think people just get a little too wrapped up.
For
just
sure.
a little bit.
Well, let's finish talking a little bit about Eron. He went to Seton Hall first, but then actually finished at Valparaiso, which is where both my parents went. So I know that school well. And he's still going, kind of chasing the dream in the G League, at least from what I saw.
Yeah, he's still chasing the dream. He left Cathedral, went to Seton Hall. Shaheen Holloway was the head coach. He was the head assistant that recruited him, and he's at Seton Hall back there as head coach now. So that was a good situation. He learned. There was a lot of veteran players there, third and fourth year players. So he didn't play a whole lot, but he played a little bit. And then the following year, he got a little bit more playing time. He enjoyed the school. He enjoyed the East Coast. He loved New York, but he was a little homesick. And so I said, okay, let me figure something out. I'll get you, back home. So we got him at Valparaiso, and he redshirted the first year. Second year there, he hurt his knee in a tournament up in Canada. And so he finished up, did fine. He was more of a glue guy at the time and could score when he needed, but mostly a glue guy, a rebounder, a defender. And he's one of those kids that whatever you tell him to do, he's just going to go, he'll do it. Eric, he's going to play. I'm going to play my game. I hear what you want me to do, coach, but I'm still going to play my game.
Interesting.
And as the kind of kid, I'm going to play good basketball, do what you need to do, but I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to add a little bit of my stuff in there. Aaron's the kind of kid, you say, I need you to stop this kid. I need you to make a couple good passes, get a couple of blocks. That's all I want you to do. And he's not going to add to his game. He's not going to do the other stuff. So I think he's learning a little bit, because the one thing that I will tell all kids is if I like what I see, I'm coming to your game and I like what I saw. That's why I like what I saw, what you just did on the court. I don't want to come and get you and change your game, because if I change your game, that's not what I liked in the first place. Now you can add to your game.
Yeah,
you can do a little extra, but don't change who you are. Never change who you are. That's what I would recommend all student athletes to. Don't change, add. Don't change.
So how are you are you still working with, do you work with your boys still on stuff during the summer when they're home?
Yeah, we still do a lot of stuff together. This summer, we're going to do a lot of stuff with Eric. Evan will be back. We'll do a lot of things together as a family.
That's
put
great.
Everybody together and get some stuff done. It's really funny when we come home. We're so competitive, though. I'm still going at it with those guys. We'll play horse, or we'll play 21. Or I'll say I'm the best shooter in the house. So we'll all go back and forth. I might win every now and then, but Evan, interesting, wins most of the shootouts.
Interesting.
And Eron, it's kind of funny. Eron will win, but he'll be like, let's say we're playing horse. He'll be down. He'll be ready. If he misses this next shot, he's out. He'll get locked in, and then he'll end up winning the game.
Come back.
So, it's like, go figure that one out. But yeah, we're really competitive. We do a lot of things together, and we're going to do a lot more coming spring and summer.
That's so great. My father-in-law beat me and all the younger kids in the family 2 years ago at Christmas. He's in his 70s and he won't let it go still. He's still, every time basketball comes up, remember a couple Christmases ago?
Hey, that would be me.
Yeah, hey, you deserve it. We're taking those guys out. Remind them every time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I so appreciate your time. And before we get you out of here, I got some rapid fire questions for you. So I'm going to hit these. The first one, best secret spot for food in Indy.
I've got a nice little spot I like to go to. I just call it in, go pick it up. It's on the north side. It's called in Greenbrier. It's called Taylor's Pub.
Okay.
They've got great sandwiches, nice little area if you want to just go in there and sit down. I love it. Taylor's Pub, 86 and Ditch.
Love it. All right. Favorite place to watch a game?
I love to go to Los Angeles and watch a game. That place is great.
Cool.
I love it. Great seats. There's not a bad seat in the house. It's just outstanding. Whether you go to a Laker game or a Clipper game, it's a great place to watch.
That's awesome. Favorite coachism, or inspirational saying? What do you like to get the guys fired up?
The one thing that I always tell people, there's a couple of things. One is it's not where you start, it's where you finish. So in training, I might get you and you might say, I can't shoot, I can't do this, I can't do that. But at the end, it's not where you start, it's where you actually finish. I was talking to a kid just last night and he was talking about his game. And his dad told me that he's not shooting the ball. And I called the kid over and his dad's standing right there. I said, son, I can tell you before the game starts, I don't care what team it is, who's going to win that game. He's like, really? He was a sixth grader.
Yeah.
I said, really? I said, yeah, I can tell you. I said, I don't care, World Series, whatever sport it is, I can tell you. He said, well, how? Whoever scores the most points. You don't score if you don't shoot. Yeah. You got to shoot the ball. Yeah. So that's what I told the kid just last night.
That's good. They need the kids need that stuff though. Like get them going, get them fired up. Or what's your favorite men's league memory?
I got a couple. One is when I scored the 81 points, and I didn't realize I scored 81 points. What ended up happening, I'm playing over here at the Jewish Community Center. I had my buddy on the score clock. I had my buddy was one of the referees, another referee, friend of mine. And we're playing against a bunch of college guys. And a couple of kids played overseas. And so our team was called Old School. At this age, I'm probably saying about 14 years ago. I'm 61, so about 14 years ago. So make a long story short, they kept fouling me. And I said, Roy, are you going to call foul? He said, Eric, quit crying. So I said, okay, I'll play any way you want to play. So I came down. I think I hit 7 threes in a row that quarter. Then I came down the second half. I probably hit another 5 or 6 threes. So instead of driving, I just shot from the perimeter. I ended up with 81 points.
Unbelievable. That's such a great story. I've got new goals in my men's league. I don't know if I'm going to get to 81, but that's a new goal. All right, what's best fans or most intense fans that you've seen over the years?
Well, of course, the Illinois fans. I mean, they were, incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But Philadelphia fans are pretty rowdy. I was at Philadelphia probably 5 years ago. I had Eric's jersey on. It was snowing that night. I thought they were going to shut down the whole city, or maybe the city was getting ready to be shut down, but they didn't stop the game. And I caught the train. I had to walk about a couple of blocks, had my jersey on, and I had a jacket. So once I got to the arena and got in my seat, I took my jacket off. Well, there's a guy about 6 rows down. He stood up and he's yelling at me. And he had his kid with him. Then he walked out into the aisle and said, don't you be wearing that, jersey up in here. And so at the time, I'm pretty competitive. And I, as my boys tell me, they tell Aaron, Eric and Evan tell Aaron, you didn't grow up with the Eric Gordon. We grew up. You got the easier, calmer, mild-mannered Eric Gordon. You didn't get the one we grew up with. So I ended up telling this guy, if he came to the game, I would help him see the game from floor level. I said, come on up here, a couple more steps, and you're going to end up down here on the floor. So those fans were pretty. And then he apologized after the game. But those fans were pretty intense.
That's great. Well, again, so appreciate having you on tonight. Tell us where people can find you on social media, or how they can get in touch with E3 if they're needing training for to get their kids started.
Absolutely. Go to on Instagram, E3 Basketball Academy. That's a quick place to go. You can find us at e3basketballacademy.com. You can give us a call at 317-440-4147. Eric Gordon on LinkedIn, Eric Gordon on Facebook, Eric Gordon Senior on Twitter. You can find us everywhere.
and in the stadium near you. Just don't make him take off his jersey.
Basketball game every weekend, at least 2 to 3.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's awesome. All right, man. I appreciate your time tonight.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the 19-9 podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, make sure you do. And while you're at it, leave us a rating or review. 5 stars only, like the basketball camp. We also have links to all of 19-9 social media so you never miss a release. Until next time,